And we wanted now to follow up on that cashless toll story that's caused such an incredible amount of confusion, anger, and a whole lot of finger pointing. Now, to briefly recap, scores of people were getting bills for hundreds, even thousands of bucks because they didn't have Easy Pass, and the Thruway Authority was charging them and fining them. Trouble is, many of them say they never even got the bills and didn't know they weren't paying them. So, to that issue, the money became overdue and they were getting penalized on top of the outstanding bills. Now, the most extreme case, it involved a family that was pulled over in the Bronx at 2 in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. Cops, they said, woman, 76 years old, I should mention here, she owed money for unpaid tolls. The cops then confiscated Dolores Ritchie's car and left the family, including that grandmother, on the street again at 2 in the morning in the Bronx. Ritchie's troubles, they were hardly over. She applied for the amnesty program as was suggested. It was offered by the authority, and she thought she was in the clear. Then an orange envelope arrived in the mail, and the letter said she owed $1,000 in addition in back tolls and late fees. Dolores, she got on the phone with the Thruway Authority to try to figure out what exactly she owed. And, to put it politely, she got the runaround for hours. The Journal News, our friends, they were there, they recorded what happened, and they produced this video. Here, a portion of it.
I'm trying to find out my balance because I receive a bill for $450. However, I went through the amnesty program and I'm paid up to date, and it says payment due 0 on my account.
Yes, okay, so I see the ones that the amnesty program did cover, but there are 10 new ones that are open.
How could it be 10 new ones when I paid?
Well, the 10 other ones that are open are from, there's one from August 29th, and then the rest are from November 15th, 18th, 19th. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay, now, why did I have to pay the $790 then? Because I did not owe $790.
It's not $790. I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
Well, that's how much I paid. It says tolls due, and I had to pay $790.
Yesterday, I spoke with 2 Journal News reporters who have been working on this story for months now, Pete Kramer and Chris Eberhardt. I know in your reporting, you guys were inundated, and I'm sure, with responses to this, including that she was hardly a unique story. But just since we did the story, the amount of people who said, what happened to that grandmother? I thought that was the end of the story, okay?
So did Dolores.
And I knew the authority wanted that to be the end of the story. You guys asked, though, and if you want bureaucracy gone bad here, and one hand not knowing the other, I bring you Exhibit A. Pete, explain to people what this woman went through after your story made headlines. She went there. You would think you'd find a cooperating agency to say, what can we do to get you from point A to point B?
Sure. Well, Chris got the call. After she found out, she got a notice, a receipt from the amnesty. She went through the amnesty. They said, you don't owe us $12,000. We said $12,000. We'll settle for $790. Pay us $790. She did. She gets a receipt that says balance due 0, right? The problem was 0 doesn't mean 0 when it comes to cashless tolls. She ended up getting a notice weeks later that said you owe us $525 for 5 more trips. That happened in November. Well, she paid in January, and the trips were in November, but somehow they didn't seem to know about these trips. They knew because they had taken a picture of her car going across the bridge. They knew what lane she was in. They knew that she owed them. But it was a matter of when she ended up finding out that it mattered when she was notified, even though she was never notified, when the notice date was on those crossings. So it became this huge thing where she called us, and Chris and I went over to her house, and we got on the phone. Right?
And Chris, you used the analogy of ping pong ball here, right, in terms of going from one person to the other, one hand not knowing the other, and she just wanted to pay her bills.
But she was also trying to find out, like, why was this not included in the amnesty program? And that's when we found out. It took a while. It took about an hour to find out an answer to that question, which was that these violations were sent after the amnesty closed. That was what they would say.
But Journal News and Lowell HUD has made a point to plaster on the front page of its paper a lot of times where people can go through the authorities urging to enjoy that amnesty program, to take advantage of that window of time.
Right.
So they're following the guidance of the authority here.
Right.
It's not like they're going rogue, right? They're doing what they're being told to do.
Exactly. And well, the window is very small, though, Richard. The window was from January 25th to February 26th. So they only had basically 5 weeks to do this. So she jumped on it. She jumped on January 25th. She said, I'm going to take care of this. And even though she felt like she didn't owe $790, she said, I'm going to do this just to be able to cross the bridge, you know. So she was really concerned about that. So she did it. She said, you know, it's zero balance. Oh my God, this is so great. It's all behind me now. And then the orange envelope shows up again. And what we heard over in a 2-hour conversation, and we recorded it all, and we edited it down into this video that you have to check out.
Yeah.
It's it basically shows these faceless people on the phone, basically reading a script. Welcome to the tolls by mail. I'm happy to talk to you. This call may be recorded for quality assurance. And Richard, you listen to it and you know that there's no assurance of any quality involved in that customer service, because she just gets bounced from person to person. And the numbers were different every person she talked to. Somebody said she owed $900. Then it was $525. Then it was $440, but we'll settle for $240. Remarkable. The amount of jostling that she endured, when she already thought she was done.
Exactly.
She was done with all that. From our perspective, from our reporting, the system is so bad if you don't use EasyPass. The onus is on you. You've got to go through and do all the legwork to find out how much you owe, all that stuff. That EasyPass seems to make the most sense. There are people who object to EasyPass just on the idea of privacy.
Peter, Chris, thank you very much. I have a feeling this will not be the last time we talk about this. Guys, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
By the way, you can read the story right now on lowhud.com. It'll also be featured in Sunday's paper as well. All right, coming up next, grinning and bearing it at the Nashville Zoo. You got to see this story. Trust me, after a long week, it'll bring a smile.